imagine a disease where basically you are cognitively there. There's nothing about FA that impacts cognition, but then it seems to impact so many other aspects of your living, and it's almost like your body is just progressively failing you while your mind is sharp. So I guess over the last month I've just been processing really. Yeah, we've both had, I had a really rough week a week ago where I feel like I was really coming to terms with what this meant for Keira. When I joined this support group, I spend the time when the girls are at their mom's doing like all the medical legwork. Like we found her doctor while they were at her mom's, and I've reading a lot of support articles, meeting people. I spent a long conversation with a dad of another FA'er, is a way to call people with Friedrichs Ataxia, FA'ers. Well, this woman is 42. She doesn't have Keira's heart condition. Typically, Friedrichs Ataxia will be life-shortening because of the heart, because of complications of the heart, basically the creation of heart disease. But fortunately, in Keira's situation, we found out that her cardio-myopathy is really mild, but it's hard to tell whether it will progress severely or not. The heart conditions are sort of, once they're there and established, they're on their own progression plan. So we have to be really concerned about that. We have to be concerned about scoliosis and diabetes, and then the neurological shutdown of her body. So basically there's like a repeat sequence that's happening in her genes, and that worsens over time, clogging up her nervous system, leading to cell death in her spinal cord. This happens over the long term though, so it's a slow moving thing, and we expect over the next short term at least to make positive strides, not negative ones. Since we're just really learning about all of this. Sorry, quick segue. You will see the hopping dog. Every time we pass this is just kind of a funny situation. I don't know what this dog does, but there's
when I was walking with her,
trampoline or what, but definitely gets some real hops there. Anyway, so this is a slow moving thing, and since we just learned about it, now we can respond with the appropriate levels of support. So up until now, she's gotten like school physical therapy and school speech therapy, and she has seen people outside of school, but at no more frequency than once a week, and that was periodic, not on a regular thing. There was seasons of it. So moving her to 5 days a week of these support services, I mean, it's like it's her extracurricular, and it's unfortunate that like that time has to go to something like that instead of going to like a sport or whatever. But it's also fortunate that we know and that we can mitigate, because I'm hoping that she gets progress in a good way over the next year. I'm hoping that she strengthens her muscles, because this disease makes it harder for her to do the things that we sort of take for granted. So as a result, like on her own, she's not going to have a huge inclination to run and hop and burn calories and stay active when her body is in more pain, is more uncomfortable. Basically her doctor described to me that essentially she doesn't know where her feet are. That same like I mentioned that it's kind of like being drunk. When you're drunk, your nervous system has a weakened impulse. So if you want to move your hand, you're less coordinated, and that's what ataxia means, is less coordination. But in her case, it's just a reality, like a constant reality for her. The researchers that are working on different therapies are excited to work on FA, apparently because they think that since it's a little bit simpler from a genetic standpoint, it's a single broken gene. They think that it could be a form of a bridge to treatments for other more complex genetic diseases like ALS. So that pipeline of 13 is remarkable for something as rare as this disease. And I think that that's given me a fair amount of hope in all of this. Although I think, just yesterday, like Amanda's been processing this more recently. That's typically like our life. I'll go through processing right away, and then
I'm always delayed.
but it's really difficult. It's difficult to think about just how challenging the upcoming times will be for her, and challenging in the most fundamental ways. If you look up other people that have this disease, a lot of them actually have YouTubes or social media followings, and I think we're talking about this too mainly to raise awareness, because a cure is probably more likely if more people are aware of what's going on. Not everybody has rare diseases, and I think that this has been like a big point of reckoning for me to come to terms with this whole concept of disability, which is not something that's been a central feature of my life. I haven't really known that many people with disability, and here, we're having to confront it front and center. So you better believe that the design of our new space, like the idea of wheelchair accessibility, became a much bigger feature. It wasn't this nuisance that a lot of people think of when they think of, I have to have ADA compliant stuff. But in reality, like, when it hits this close to home, you realize like how many people have these problems in their life that others just get to take for granted. So I hope that people continue to recognize disability as a real thing, and I hope that Keira in her new school has the same type of adult support that she's enjoyed in the past. She really relies on her adult relationships because sometimes it's hard for her to relate to her peers. She talks a little bit differently and walks a little differently, and
Kids can be brutal.
Kids can definitely be brutal with other kids. So that's why it's like hard for her to leave some of the adult relationships, but we're encouraged, I think, so far by what we've learned at this school. If anything, it's pointing to even a stronger community. So that's our personal update. Really, this is like, when you put it into perspective, it wouldn't matter if the difficulty of proof and moving it was 10 times harder. It really would sort of pale in comparison to the difficulty of learning that your child is losing their ability to walk and
talk
and swallow, and on top of it, like all these other rough consequences like back problems. And so we have to be vigilant. And my mom was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 cancer diagnosis over 20 years ago, given an 18-month prognosis, and she's still here. And that was a lot to do with just the fight and the spirit. And I guess we're on a really sharp learning curve right now, trying to figure out how to be that for our daughter, how to give her the right support network. And I think that part of it is bringing community to her. Part of that is using the reach of our micro bakery to connect to other people around the world that might be somehow pivotal to her in her life. Certainly that's been the case so far. We've had conversations with so many people, and I think that the process of getting diagnosed went faster for us just because of some of the people that kind of came into our lives over the last few months and some of the information that we learned. So for us, just the whole concept of communities is even more important for her. The fact that like her friend group and her parent group and her adult support group is all hyper localized here. We think that that's a really big positive for her going forward, and it will be critical. We're excited that hopefully she can take relationships that she forms here on her first day at this new school and carry them forward all the way, hopefully fingers crossed, through high school. Would be my dream. I think that's a lot better than her having to switch around or any other form. I think it's even more important for her than in other cases. So it's a difficult situation, and as a result, it makes the whole move to a commercial location for proof and all the expenses and all the stress associated with that really makes all that feel very easy, even though I don't think it actually is. But it definitely helps you put things into priority. So for us, finding balance is really a big priority right now.